I could just get a filler for the top, just a plate that was lightweight, and put it around a PVC frame and just build the head and the neck. So once we did that, it freed up the puppeteer. They didn't have to spend all their energy supporting up the body. They could just work on the performance.
Right.
Now, there's like very many images that I saw, like searching, because literally I again, this is my dungeon. This is where I live for doing this. Or I even saw the character that was done by Jordan Peele, where you're on a couch and the guy was like, that just like, how many hours did you guys like do filming like per day so you wouldn't get so fatigued from it?
Well, the problem in this budget range is you get 1 day or sometimes 2 days to film something, and you get whatever lights you can bring in, and it's really, there is essentially no crew. It's me and my wife who does, the production design and all that stuff, and I do the directing, and if there was sound, I would do that, and lighting. We have one guy that helps out, our friend of ours, Dickie, so he was kind of my right-hand man, sort of an assistant. But aside for that, for 95% of the film, it was just the two or three of us. So, you just have to get in, get out. And if you don't get the shot, it's too bad because you can't come back another day. So it really didn't matter how much pain you were in or how uncomfortable. You just, unfortunately, thank God we had this amazing puppeteer, Danny, that would just do whatever we told him to do and just not complain about it and just deliver these amazing nuanced performances. He did almost every puppet, every performance in this movie, and it was incredible. He just understood the parts and came in and did what he was supposed to do, and it just blew our mind. So we did multiple takes mainly because the lip syncing had to be as close as possible.
Right.
So in addition to everything else, I wanted to make sure that, the performance had to be good, but the lip syncing had to be good too. And sometimes in post, I could go and tweak it a little bit, but I didn't want to do too much of that.
Yeah.
So that's the only main reason why we had to keep reshooting take after take, is to make sure I tried to get the lip sync close, because we did the audio first, and then I played it back on loop, and he would lip sync to it. So that was one of the biggest challenges, and I think for the reason why the shoots would go on a little longer than they needed to. But if we had a big crew and it wasn't for all those technical issues, I'm sure we could have spent more time and gotten a lot more interesting things, but this just wasn't possible.
So, going through this, there's some things you had to take away from the script because there's no way to actually do it, like with what you're doing?
No, because we managed what I wanted to do. We managed to do. We just figured out ways to do it, but it got to the point where you're 7 years into it and you're like, let's just be done with this movie. There was another character named Chester, and there was a bunch of other scenes, and I said, you know what, it's just going to set us back another year. We're going to have to spend more money, and the movie works as is. There's just ways we can do it. So let's try to consolidate different scenes here and there, get rid of the character, work other things. We had all the dialogue. It all worked fine. So basically, we just lopped off a bunch of, like, 10 pages of the script, but another character, and just kind of like made it work with what we had, just because we're tired of spending so many years working on it.
Now, just moving on a little bit here. Now, again, I said to you earlier, I have literally watched your entire, like every short I could find of yours, I watched in the last 48 hours.
Yeah.
And I noticed there was kind of a consistency in parodies. Like, are you a huge parody fan? Or
you know what? There's a thing called the Oscars that was organized by Brits in LA. And every year, around the Oscars time, they would announce the best film nominees, and the Oscars would meet. It was a festive thing, and these are like mostly amateurs, mostly actors at that. These are better entertainment, big entertainment crew. They're mostly actors and some technical people, and we would make parodies of the films, and they were just generally not the best quality, just to have fun. But
I got that. But they made me laugh so hard, especially like Boywood and Wackshaw Fridge.
Yeah. Well, if anyone wants to see some other stuff I do, it's Breasts of the Southland Wild. I think there's a poster I have.
Yeah. No, I see Boywood.
Boywood. Yeah, Breasts of the Southland Wild, which is a satire of Beasts of the Southern Wild. And I
Yep.
think that's one of my favorite ones. Now, when I came into it, I just thought I'm going to try to make this, in feeling and technically as close to the original as possible. So I think it looked pretty good. The thing is, though, 90% of the best films no one's ever seen.
Right.
So, you make this incredible parody, and most of the audience is sitting there silent because they don't understand the humor. So I don't understand how it's a parody. So you kind of have to throw poopy around if you make people laugh, right? Yeah, so like they
exactly.
don't understand the scene.
Uh,
They didn't see Boyhood. So just
yeah,
throw
so
poop at the picture and that'll make them
they
laugh.
I think there was one scene where a lady was, I think, yeah, it was the Breast of Southland, where she was writing in her journal with a piece of dried out poop. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. I know the movie it's parodying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? But, yeah, those are hilarious, though. I'm not gonna lie.
So were you able to keep any of the puppets, or like are they in your house somewhere? Like
Yeah.
oh wow.
Yeah. Now they're in storage, but we had it, pretty much everything in our house and we couldn't move around. We have boxes of stuff, we have limbs and lots of fake blood and all the contraptions we used. We just had to pile it up in the garage, which, people walking by our garage would see all these torsos and things like that. So it was so our neighbors have a certain understanding of who we are, not necessarily what we do. And and so yeah, it was. And then we raised 2 kids at the time, so
Wow.
they're pretty much used to all this now too.
Oh my. So have you guys come up now? Because let's be honest, some of your work is, a little out there for some people. Now, is there any idea that you have come up with that you've like pretty much you've thrown out there and everybody's just been like, that's too far.
Yeah.
That's way beyond what you need to go with.
Yeah, I mean, as far obviously not poopy. We can do anything.
Yeah, you can do anything with poop.
Anything is acceptable and tasteful. But yeah, I mean, in Abruptio, my wife is usually the one that pulls me back because even though she's British and British have, that kind of sense of humor. I mean, really, all sorts of things are funny to them that Americans don't find funny.
Right.
She pulled like in that scene with the family. She didn't want me to go as far as I had originally intended with the violence, which was pretty far. And she said, no, as long as you don't do this, we're fine. So yeah, my wife is usually the one that pulls me back. And
that actually sounds like me and Chris here, because both of us have wonderful wives that literally have to, especially me, because I get a little boisterous. And in my younger years, I was I was bad. And so there's many times my wife had to do the same thing where she had to be like, maybe this, not that so much. And I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's something when you're deep in something, you probably don't recognize it, but a lot of times if you don't show something, it works better. And with Jaws, and most recently with Nope, with the monkey scene in Nope. I mean, it's all off camera, off screen. I mean, it just works better. And first you want to just rub the audience's face in it, but it doesn't always work out better that way. So having some restraint is oftentimes the way to go.
And it saves a lot of money.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, I'm looking at some of the scenes in this where I'm not gonna do anything away. Puppets' heads explode. Was it hard for you to take that thing that takes so long to build and tear it apart?
Well, the thing is with that scene, it was done with 2 puppets. So I had one that was had a intact, and another one that had some of its head missing with tubing inside.
Yeah.
And I just cut mid-sentence and replaced the head and resumed the shot. So that's how I did that. So in case I needed to, I could redo it. And so again, that was one of those examples where I had this idea in my head. I wanted it to what I wanted to happen on screen, but I had no idea how I was going to go about doing it until I just realized you just had to make 2 heads. And then a lot of the stuff for the decapitation is just CGI, unfortunately. I mean, you can't. The problem is you got somebody's hand in the head, and if you take the head off, you'll see a hand, and you can't blow off the hand. So you just have to find workarounds for those sorts of things.
Oh man. Now, I lost my page. 1 second. There's other screens right here with a bunch of questions that I've prepared.
All right.
That's why we keep the conversation going. Chris has the other page. That's why we know where to go.
So well, going back a bit, a little bit to the short films you had, did you think you'd ever go back and make full features like for the box or Trippy? Like, was this something you want to do?
No,
Yeah,
for
the box is
no.
one of my favorites that you did, by the
Yeah,
way.
I like the
Did you
box.
write that one, or did you?
Did I? Yeah, I think that was one of those 48-hour challenges, I think. And it had to have like the title, it said the box, and they had to use like something like an umbrella opens or something like that. You know, have you done those for heard of them, the 48
Yeah,
hour
I've heard of
challenge?
those. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard
Yeah,
those.
they'll give you like a title, an action, and then I don't know, whatever thing else, and you have 48 hours to come up with a movie. I think that's what that was. And fortunately, I know a bunch of actor friends, and Dickie also, happened to have like a Steadicam rig that weekend. He was just borrowing, I think. So everything just kind of fell into place. By the time I was, I'll go through phases. Like at that time, I was watching a lot of Bergman, so I was trying to work Bergman into it. It just depends whatever mood I'm in at the time, and I guess it shows. Yeah, that actually turned out to be one of my favorite ones. That and another one that got a lot of publicity was Smash Roo. That was part of the
Yes,
50,
that's a
50
good
Kids.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. That was Chris Jones in England had a 50 Kisses competition where you would put 50 films together that each occur on Valentine's Day with a kiss in them. And so he put the winning 50 together and made a compilation. I don't know if you can find it online. I think it's somewhere. It's
Yeah,
a great.
a lot of your collection is actually available on
Vimeo.
Vimeo.
Yeah,
That's why I watched most of your I literally, if you put in your name, you literally all your
yeah,
shorts pretty much pop up.
yeah. Yeah, so Smash Mouth turned out all right, and that won the best picture of the thing. So, and that's my wife doing the acting. She did a great job.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
But at that time, I was into the butterfly and the diving bell, so I kind of pulled that influence into that movie. It just depends what I'm going through, what I'm watching or into at that time. I'll just kind of bring that influence into the movie.
So, what was your so this is your first Panic Fest, right? Like in when coming
What's
or
that?
you were you
Was it
this
your
your
first Panic Fest?
yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah. First Panic Fest. Yeah.
How did you like it?
Oh, it was great. Everybody's really welcoming. Coming from LA or Southern California,
Mhm.
where people aren't always that open and welcoming. I mean, they're talkative and they'll tell you a lot about themselves, but there was an authenticity to the people that I met at Kansas City. They generally seemed like friendly, warm people. They're all very enthusiastic about horror
Yeah,
and just things that were out there,
yeah.
crazy things, and I appreciate that. And same for right now, we're going in Fanaspoa in Brazil, and it was the kind of same sort of vibe where they just like weird films and horror films. Not just things that push the envelope.
Mhm.
And I like that about people that, and it's especially hard in Kansas City. I mean, you're in Missouri, so it's nice to see that pocket of people because I don't think that's the consensus for Missouri is that sort of person.
Yeah, no,
No,
It's nice to
I,
see. Yeah, it's that kind of person thriving there.
what I like to say, basically in the Kansas City area, because I moved there from Chicago originally. Originally, I'm from Chicago area, and then I just moved away about a year or two ago to. I work in radio down in Tulsa, Oklahoma now. So,
Mm.
but the thing I say about that area is like everybody's like a sponge. They just want to like absorb everything. They don't want to tell you as much of themselves, but they
Mm.
want to know everything they can about you. And I really love that personality on people because it made me become more of that personality. Because I was from Chicago. I was the same way as most people from LA, where it's like, oh, me, 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 me. Let me tell you about me, me, me,
Yeah.
me, me. I did this, I did that.
Yeah.
And now I love just sitting back and hearing stories from people more. And I think it is from living that area for
Mm.
more than a decade. So
Yeah, I can see that. Everybody in LA, they have their card ready to go. Everyone's an actor, their demo reel.
mhm.
It's all about them, their product or their brand or whatever it is. Not everyone,
So
of course.
I'm
There's
gonna
some good people.
I'm gonna ask you an impossible question. Do you have a favorite movie?
That is impossible. No, I mean, I'll tell you though, growing up, there's some movies that I just saw over and over.
Yeah.
And probably those shaped me the most when I was really young. And those were like It's a Wonderful Life, A
Mhm.
Clockwork Orange, uh, the,
Yes.
the Graduate, and then eventually Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh,
Oh.
But there's just some movies.
I'm from Indiana, man. We literally
There you
have the
go.
Indiana Jones theme song memorized in all our heads.
Yeah,
I
no, I
can't
knew
wait
that
for the new one.
whole soundtrack. I could
Yeah.
sing that whole soundtrack from beginning to end. But there's just some movies. I don't know if those show in my films per se, but they just sort of motivated me to love film and
Mhm.
and to want to make films.
Nice.
But
Now
at this point,
there's
right now, I can't say there is a particular film that I would list as my favorite film.
I know.
Yeah.
I tell him not to stop asking that question.
No,
Yeah,
no,
Nobody has an
no, I
answer
think
for
I
that.
think it just
Nobody has
stokes
an answer for that,
discussion.
Chris.
no
I don't
answer.
even have an answer for that. And I mean,
Yeah,
I got 2 different movies tattooed on my arms. Like
yeah.
it's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
Apparently, it was that one movie that did you see they did that was Sight and Sound survey this year that got everybody so riled up about what was the name of that movie? I don't even remember the name of the movie. I watched it. It was the one where you see the housewife go through her day and it's like 3 hours, just long static shots of this woman going through her day, gradually losing control of herself, but it's very subtle. And it
this
came
was
out.
at this year's Panic Fest.
No, no, this is
No,
a
no,
sound.
no.
This is a sound poll. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look it up, you'll see the number one film that they voted was the best film ever made. It, and no one's ever heard of it. But
Nice. I'm definitely I'm stalking this as soon as I get done.
I would watch it. But you have to live with. I mean, it's not an entertaining movie. You have to sit there and live with that character for 3 hours and see her very subtly, lose control. She's someone that obviously worked very hard to maintain control after her husband died, and you just see her slowly starting to lose control over the course of a few hours. It's a fascinating movie, but I got a lot of people angry because they just don't understand why it would be called the best film ever made.
I actually seen it. I'll have to look it up. But that sounds very familiar to me in the past. Now, Evan, for you, what's coming up in the future for you?
Yeah.
What projects you got working on? Because to be honest, now that I've seen your entire, pretty much film history in the last 2
Yeah,
days,
we're
I'm
really
actually
looking forward.
excited. I mean, especially after something, and I'm not going to say crazy, but as creative. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's very as creative as the movie you just did. Like, I can't wait to see what you got next. What are you building in that brain of yours?
Well, while all this has been going on, I've been coming up with ideas and stories, and I do a half-hearted attempt at pitching scripts every so often, but I don't have any connections, and so it's really hard to get your foot in the door. So instead, I just adapted my ideas into story format, the short stories and novels, and I published those under E. Stewart Marlowe, and so those are all on Amazon, just so it's just cheaper to self-publish an Amazon book and get a film produced. But someone can come to me and go, "What else you got?" And I can say, "Well, I've got these other stories. For example, there's a serial killer killing off your favorite fairy tale characters." Yeah, so
I love it.
things like yeah,
Love it.
yeah. So I mean, I got all these books that I've written, and it wouldn't be much for me to adapt these into a TV show or film. But nothing right now is actively going on. I'm just kind of recuperating from this movie, but I have ideas ready.
So,
Nice.
when can people be able to see Abruptio? What's the plans for wide release so people can see this one?
For distribution.
Yeah, we have festivals lined up and potentially happening through October, November, maybe even December. I get requests. I got one today from festivals around the world asking to show the movie. So I feel like that's like the point of making a movie is to
Mhm.
have it seen, to go to these festivals when you can and hear the audience. So I'd like to see that out and then go out to distributors and see, who would have the widest distribution at that point. So we're really in no hurry. We just kind of want to build up our fan base and the buzz about the movie first.
Well, I mean, thank you for sharing it with us. It was incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, one thing I do gotta add though was like what you just said about the serial killer killing fairy tales, fairy characters or storybook characters. This January, a lot of those are the copyrights are coming up. I'm just saying, if you want to throw it out there and film it.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, thanks.
But I do a lot of filmmakers that are coming up. A lot of our friends, people that we know, do listen to our show. Do you have any advice for up and coming filmmakers? Like, what's the best piece of advice that you can give to someone trying to start their way in filmmaking?
Well, I mean, obviously, film as much as you can. It's no point in studying and not actually going out and doing stuff. So you should try at least. Now it's so easy to do it. You just get a cheap camera or even a phone, which is not necessarily so cheap, but you can still get a pretty good images and just create movies. You should watch as many films as possible. It's impossible to get a hold of some really great films, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I find that the Netflix DVD service, you can get a much bigger selection of obscure movies, and they also on the DVDs have commentary, and you can learn a lot from that.
Yeah.
I would read critics like Roger Ebert and Pauline Kael to not necessarily agree with what they're saying, but to understand how they deconstruct movies and what works and doesn't work. Because a lot of filmmakers become enamored with their idea and they lose sight of it. But these critics, who are the ones that are good and understand film and film history, can go in and explain why something works or doesn't work, and how maybe something is derivative or has been done before. And then lastly, I would just say, you got to live life. You can't just live in a bubble and expect to make captivating movies. You have to get different people's perspectives, travel if you can, and just explore all sorts of things in life, different cultures and foods, sculpture, architecture. Just absorb everything everywhere you go, and then try to work that in eventually into your own work.
That's a fantastic answer. Of all the
Yeah,
people we asked
that's
that,
like one
that's
of the
been the
best
best
answers
answer.
we've got.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, are there any more questions that you want to go through real quick?
Man, I just want to go back and watch Abruptio again.
Yeah. And I feel like you have to. I mean, you just get so smacked in the head the first time through that you probably miss a lot of stuff. But
Oh yeah, I've watched it twice now, and
all right.
yeah,
If you look closely, there's tons of things going on, references to different things, movies from the 70s, mythology, things like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've noticed this. Like, I was actually, I can't remember what part it was, but I was watching it because I was watching it here in my lab. My wife's office is right down the hallway in her house, and she was going past the door, and I rewound this part, and I was like, "Look at this! This looks exactly like." And I can't remember what the reference was because literally, I'm not gonna lie, I've watched like 5 movies, and plus all your work in like the last 2 days.
That's a lot.
But there's a scene where I was like, "Doesn't this look just like?" And then she's like, "What the fuck are you watching?"
Yeah, I got that. We came home and she was like, "What are you watching?" We're watching Abruptio. We're talking to Evan Marlowe, the director, tomorrow. She's like, "Okay." but I guess I did ask. I wanted to ask, as it's being made, Jordan Peele went from being just like a sort of skit actor to a Academy Award-winning screenwriter. What was that like for you? Like seeing that happen?
Well, I mean, he was just, a guy that made really great comedy skits. And then we didn't realize when he came into the audio booth, he had this movie in his back pocket that was about to, create the, whatever, this elevated horror or whatever they want to call it now.
Yeah.
The Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
What maybe? What
Yeah. Get out.
Oh. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Bad joke, Neil.
Yeah, no. So, I don't know if it helps our little movie, but it's just it's just an interesting turn of events to have him associated with. He majored in puppeteering or puppetry in college, so that was his interest in the film too.
Wow.
He's like everyone else, wanted to see a movie with puppets in it.
I guess I have one more question. I think no, I think I do have another question. So when it comes to designing the characters, how did you like last looks like a real person that you see every single day? Like how did you what was designing these characters like? How did you go about doing that?
Oh, here, real quick, Evan. I think I have the answer for you. He met your brother Matt, Chris. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
I had my wife's cousin Janine in England helped. I gave her some ideas today. I want somebody that looks like it. So she'd draw something out for some of the characters. Some of them I went online and found references. Like for Robert Englund's character, our fabricator, I said, I think we should kind of do it like that guy with the Nazi with the glasses from Raiders of the Lost Ark. I said, let's give him. He said, I understand that. Yeah, he said, I understand that completely. A little slightly upturned nose, the little glasses, I get it. So stuff like that, I would just find references, and then our fabricator just went to town and made these crazy puppets. So and it just turned out great. I mean, and I also played him some of the audio so he understood the voice. So I think that helped too because he
Yeah.
kind of designed with the voice in mind.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You there now?
I don't know. I think we kind of went through like literally all of this. I mean, it only took us 3 days to write them all, and I think we did it in like 25
Yeah.
minutes. That's kind of impressive for us. Like we knocked them all out of the park. Oh man.
Well,
I got a question though.
okay, sure.
I'm kind of interested in this part of it now. I'm a sound guy. I work in radio. I've done sound overs. I've been the guy that literally it's like you buy the whole seat, but you only need the edge. Like I literally do that stuff constantly. When you recorded the actor voices, like all this like slew of people, did you just have them record from their own spaces and then send you over the information, or do you have your own studio and stuff like
No,
that?
no. We were in SoCal. There's a lot of like sound
Oh, that's
studios.
true. That's true.
Yeah, studio. So the first place we went to was a big open room, so it was too much echo or reverb. So it had too big a sound to it. So eventually we moved to a different studio, which was a proper studio, which was insulated. And we did most of it there. We just had the actor come in, and that way it was just easier for me to direct them. There was one friend of ours that did something from home. That was the nurse. But aside from that, everybody came into the studio with us, and this was all I think pre-COVID, so it was not a problem.
I think that's why the question in my head came up, because I know that you guys did stuff and then COVID happened,
Yeah.
and that's when you guys got back to production. I didn't know if it was the sound recording itself or the actual puppetry.
No, I think we all had almost all of the sound in the can prior to COVID. And then of course we had to build the whole world afterwards. There was no audio done on set, so we had to have our all
Right.
the Foley done and everything else post.
Okay.
They had to lip sync it like Ashley Simpson at Saturday Night Live. Like, remember that?
Yeah.
Well, the Dark Crystal, when they did the TV series, I watched the behind the scenes, and those performers recorded their audio, and then the actors would come in afterwards and lip sync to the characters. So we did the opposite because I didn't want to bind the arms of our of our actors, our voice actors. So I had them do their parts first, and then our puppeteer, and then I did a beep track, and then so he would know when the track was starting,
Right.
and then he would begin to lip sync to them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
This is just an awesome movie.
Yeah.
I can't we can't thank you enough for stopping by and giving us your time for doing the interview.
But for every person we had come on the show, we asked them to say something for us. So can you say your name and be like, "Hi, I'm Evan Marlowe, and you're listening to Movies Don't Suck." That's something I do.
Yep.
Okay.
You can do it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, go.
Hi, this is Evan Marlowe, and you're listening to Movies That Don't Suck, and Some That Do.
Oh, we love that. Thank you so much.
But Evan, I'm not gonna lie, I highly appreciate this.
Yeah, we love this thing.
I love seeing anybody that's new and creative in just movies that has something that is brand new. Because I'm a movie guy. I was the general manager of a Blockbuster in '99. I lived above a one-screen movie theater. Like when I was my first apartment was above a one-screen movie theater and a video store. So I've seen like so many movies.
Yeah.
It's to the point where I'm like, you can even ask Chris here. Like if I see a movie, I can usually tell you what the ending of the movie is before the first 10 minutes is done. I can tell you the entire movie because I can just pick up on all that.
But there's
there was no way to do that with your movie.
No, thank you.
Movie, like how all of a sudden I'm gonna see octopus aliens bursting out of shells and people blowing up and and not know exactly how the whole atmosphere of it. So thank you for someone like me, something original and great.
Yeah, very creative.
It just makes me feel awesome.
Thank you so much for having me too. It was lots of fun.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, and you have a good day, man. You go do what you gotta do, and we got to do all the editing and get this.
All right, good. That was fun.
Appreciate it, Evan.
Take care. Bye bye. See ya.
All right. That was Evan Marlowe.
And Justin left too. Yeah, I forgot to hit record again.
Well, that's fine. I got it over here too.
I know you did, but I just here on the stream.